Hey everybody, this is me, Undead Viking, and I'm going to talk to you about this game today. It's called Moonshot, Lunar, Solace. Now, I want to see a show of hands. How many people out there that are watching this video right now had a games cupboard at their parents' house when they were growing up? Okay, I can't see you. But if you raised your hand, hey, cool. Woo, that's awesome. But let me know. In all honesty, my family, we had a games cupboard. The downstairs bathroom basement had this huge cupboard in it. That, as far as I know, in my mother's house, it's still there. And all those games are still there. I should go check that out one of these days. But anyway, regardless, those games were beat to bejesus and back by myself and my older brother and my older sister and all my friends as well when we come over and play. Now, the reason I mention that is because most of us grew up playing certain types of games. We grew up playing games like Sorry. We grew up playing games like Trouble, or maybe your grandparents had a version of Pachisi or Parcheesi as it was known. And ultimately those games were all kind of the same. You tried to move around the board, you know, get your little pawn or your figure or whoever, and get them out and around the board and back to home before anybody else. There's even like some games that are around now that have more of a Euro bend to them that kind of have the same thing. You can't really see it, but one of my favorite kids games is Viva Topo, which is, you know, Hooray for Cheese, which is about a mouse game where mice run around and try to get around while this cat chases them and tries to eat them. My daughter and I have played that many times. But regardless, that premise has been around forever, and Moonshot Lunar Solar is based off that premise. You are going to be piloting your ships around the solar system and trying to outrace everybody else. And you know, but this isn't like a straight port of that. There's a bunch of cards that you get to play to change things up and affect other players. You can link ships together to move them as one. You can take sharp turns in the solar system and kind of choose a path and things like that. And so there's a little more meat on the bone. But ultimately this is a family game. This is something that I've played now with my family a few times, and we've enjoyed the heck out of it. So just keep that in mind. This isn't going to be a big gamers game. This isn't a super hardcore brain burner, or there isn't a bunch of little minis and a ton of dice we're rolling. So bear that in mind as you're watching this video, and if you are in a family or you know of a family that would like this game, that's why I think that's the target audience, and that's who you're going to be looking for in order to get that to them. Anyway, so, or to yourself for that matter. So anyway, let me show you Moonshot Lunar Solace, and then you can make your own mind, and we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts on it. Alright, cool. Alright, this is Moonshot Lunar Solace, and this is a very simple game to play, so I'm just going to kind of dive in, and then I'll explain why this game is good for the intended audience, if you will. I kind of referenced that in my introduction, but anyway, regardless. So each player gets 4 spaceships. They start right next to their player board at the beginning. Then what happens is that as you begin, you will go from this launch area and you're trying to get back to the moon. When you get back to the moon, you have to, like, if you're on the moon, this is considered to be like on the moon, you can get to here or here as far as finish. You have to have at least one extra movement that then will let you take that and put it back in your safe zone. Ships that have not launched and ships in the safe zone cannot be affected by any other player by cards or by landing on them or anything like that. As you are moving about the board, and I'll show you how that happens here in just a second, if you land directly on any of the planets, then you are able to turn to the left if you so desire. So you can turn, and then you can head to Jupiter, and then you could turn left again, and you could go to the finish. The only time that you don't really have an option as far as turning is when you get to Venus. You have to turn left. You can't go back the other way. You can move backwards with a roll, and so that's fine. You could, if you're on Venus, you could go back like this, but if you're coming this way or you're coming this way, you have to continue the movement and try to go towards the middle there. Alright, so you might notice that there's this wormhole. Some cards can cause the wormholes to move around. I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But whenever you land on a wormhole, you will teleport to the other side. If, as you're playing, you land on another person's ship, like so, you will then cause that ship to go back to their launch area like that, and the person that goes back to the launch area gets to draw a card. At any time you can have 2 cards in your hand, and the person that bumps it, obviously they get to feel joy in the fact that they've knocked the other person's ship backwards. This is a weird game where going first is usually not a good idea because even though it is technically a race, trying to get all the way around, by getting out into front, obviously you can get hit. Now, on your turn, what you do is you're going to roll these dice, and then you're going to get these figures. So you have, like, in this case, I got 3 black dots and a white spot. So on each player board, it actually has the different combinations of what you get as far as what amount of roll or amount of movement that you're going to get with that. So if you have 3 power, any 3 power, you get to move forward 3. So you're going to just take one of your ships and move it forward 3. Pretty simple, right? You can, if you get 1 red dot and all the rest of these are blank, that is move backwards 1. And so obviously, like, when you move backwards 1, it's a good deal if somebody happens to be behind you, and you can bump them. If you have another one of your ships and you land on top of it, you then have a stacked set that you can move together with 1 roll. However, you do put yourself at risk of somebody landing on you, of course, and ruining your fun by having your stacked ships. And you can stack all 4. If you could somehow get all 4 in the same spot, all 4 would move together as a stacked ship, or like, and there are cards. Once they're stacked together, you can't bust them apart. But there are cards that'll allow you to do that, and cards that your opponents will be able to play that'll allow them to do that. You can, if you roll well enough by getting like all dots or all blanks, you can get a movement of 4 or 5, and then you get to bank that roll. So you would say, like, if you got that, that would be a movement of 4, and then you roll again. And so in this case, then I get a movement. I'd have 2 dots, so that would be a movement of 2. So now I get to use both of those movements. I'd get a bank of, I have the 4 that I banked, and then a 2 spot that I earned, and you can bust those up in any way you want. So if you had 2 ships, you could say, I'm going to move this one 2, like this, and then that would cause it to go to through the wormhole like that, and then I'm going to move this one 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and hopefully maybe I can get a back one on my next one. I can go through the wormhole. If you go through the wormhole, another ship is on the other side, you stack it as normal. If you go through a wormhole and another ship happens to be on the other side, it goes as normal. And if you move backwards 1, you go through the wormhole also as normal. So the wormhole does go back and forth. So, yes, you undoubtedly played a game with these types of rules. The only big thing is that when you get back to the end, you don't have to have an exact roll. But the moon is considered a spot as well, so you can get to here, and you aren't safe yet. You need to get at least 1 more movement, and then that will allow you to put your ship off. And so while they're on the moon, they can still get affected by cards and other players. So you got to keep that in mind. So there are like these cards you get. Just going to show you some. So like, here's one that says Moonshot. When your opponent has at least 1 ship on the moon, play this card to return one of those ships to its launch area, even if it breaks up a linked set. So here's one that happens immediately. Play this card to cloak Jupiter. Place the cloaking tile on Jupiter. There's a big hexagon tile. I'll show that in a second. Treat as another space. Any action which lands on Jupiter while it's cloaked may not turn towards the moon. They may only proceed to Venus. So kind of straightforward there. Here's like something that you would have on your turn. Play this card to reroll any number of dice 1 time. So if you didn't like your roll, you can mess with that a little bit. And then here's like an at any time card. Play this card and choose an opponent's ship or linked ship set. It cannot move until your next turn. And that was like I was saying as far as like having all your cards in one basket or all your ships in one basket can kind of doom you a little bit. So the only other rule I can think of is that you can't choose to pass on your turn. Whatever you roll, you have to do it. You can't like ever bust up your movement either. So if you get a movement of 4, you couldn't like move this one 1 and then like move this one 3. You know, you have to, one ship or one linked set has to use up all of the movement that you have. All right, so the game, like as I said, isn't super difficult, but for my family, we've had a ton of fun with this one. So just keep that in mind, and I will tell you more about what I think of Moonshot Lunar Solace in my final thoughts. Oh, that was a good one. Moonshot Lunar Solace. All right, as I said, if you are looking for like the next great Steffenfeld Euro, this is not your game. If you're looking for the next great Warhammer 40k game, this isn't it. But for what it is, this game is excellent. I've fully enjoyed every single time that I played it with my family. It is something that is helping my son count, and he's 4, you know, and you know, helping him, you know, count his spaces and determine which ship he wants to move first. And he really likes it when they get linked together. That's like his whole goal. He wants to get all 4 of his ships in the same spot, and he's done that a few times, and he gets pretty excited about it. And that's fun. That is very fun for me to be at that situation. Here's the deal, though. Yes, this game isn't going to be something that I'd ever bust out with my gaming group. Well, we did play it once, just because I made them play it. I said, hey, let's just play this. And, you know, it didn't take long. We all laughed and giggled about it, and we had a good time with it. But it was a one-shot type of thing. But this is a game now that my son asks to play, which I think is super, super awesome. And the fact that I can drag my daughter into it, and my wife as well, and we have a nice family time. We have like a little like half hour, 45 minutes where the TV is off, there's no distractions, nobody's got their phone out, nobody's got their iPad playing Minecraft or anything like that. And now we're just sitting here, and we're watching everybody roll the dice, and we're interacting, and we're actually seeing each other's eyes instead of me being down here looking through rules. My wife isn't, you know, taking care of the entire house while I'm doing this, obviously. And, you know, my daughter, like I said, isn't playing Minecraft, and my son isn't, like, you know, wanting to watch a YouTube video about whatever new toy he wants or something like that. And I treasure that time. So if you are looking for a good family game, a good family time game, you can't go wrong with this. It's got a nice look to it. It's got a nice simple rule set that you can teach your kids really, really quickly. And it's interactive enough that you're not going to be bored to tears as, like, you know, you're not going to be like sitting there playing Candyland for like the billionth time, like, you know. So check it out, and like I said, I'm really happy I have this because, like I said, I'm having a ton of fun with it with my family. So there you go. If you have any questions about it, ask away. I'll answer those to the best of my ability. As always, thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video and listen to me prattle about my family. And as always, I hope you are having one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.